Welcome to Believing the Word with Pastor Dan Shunk. This program is an outpouring of the ministry going on at Calvary Chapel, Chambersburg in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Here's what's coming up in today's message.
Famous comics, famous rich people that just get their belly filled with fame or money, and they're just like, this is empty. And that's the same type of thing that God's doing now. He's saying, oh, frogs are deity to you? Oh, frogs are worth worship to you? Let me give you a gazillion of them. Let me kill them in your street. Are they still that great? Or is it just a created thing? It's just a created thing that comes and goes.
God is everlasting and all-powerful. Sometimes we imagine the plagues he wrought on Egypt in a myth-like fashion, perhaps as more of a legend than history. But they really happened. God demonstrated his incredible power over the physical world. And as Pastor Dan will point out in today's message, these plagues took on a deeper meaning for a culture that had made idols of all kinds of limited, temporary things. He wasn't just trying to free the Israelites. He was showing the Egyptians who he was. Now here's Pastor Dan in the book of Exodus chapter 8, as he continues his message, What the World Has to Offer.
The magicians were able to counterfeit this miracle and turn water into blood themselves. Now, that's very interesting. Why not reverse the miracle that God did, right? All of their waters just turned to blood, and the magicians do the same thing? They turn water to blood also? If they're so smart, why not reverse God's judgment? Why not go against what God did to them, right? But they can't do it. They can't do it. All they can do is mock the judgment of God. All they could do is counterfeit what God already did, which made it worse. I mean, that's real helpful, isn't it? Oh, look, Pharaoh, we can turn water to blood also. And Pharaoh's probably thinking, okay, all right, so this is just some trick Moses is doing, is what he's probably thinking, but the magicians aren't exactly being helpful because they can't. They may be able to do the supernatural, but their supernatural cannot go against the power of God and what God is doing, right? You remember that in your life, Christian. Even if you have something supernatural happening to you, and I've heard stories of people talking about supernatural events, different possessions and different things. If you ever are in the realm of that kind of spiritual warfare and you're concerned about the power of Satan, just remember they can't come against the power of God. Oh, Satan may have a little power of his own, but he cannot go against what God is doing, right? Remember that. You know, if you're possessed with the Holy Spirit of God, and you are if you're a Christian, you can't have another spirit possess you. It doesn't work that way. God is supreme, right? Amen. So there's plague one. God brings the blood for the water out of the Nile. And now, chapter 8, verse 1, the Lord spoke unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if you refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all the borders with frogs. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which go up and come in your house and into your bedchambers and upon your bed and into the house of your servants and upon thy people and into your ovens where you cook and into your kneading troughs where you're making your bread. In verse 4, And the frogs shall come up both on you and on your people and upon all your servants. And the Lord spoke unto Moses in verse 5, Say unto Aaron, Stretch forth your hand with your rod over the streams, over the rivers, over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And in verse 6, Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. So first it's the Nile turning to blood, and now we have this frog infestation. The Lord uses their gods against them. These frogs were considered a god to the Egyptians. They worshipped many different animals and other things, the sun and other things, as deity. These frogs would often come out of the Nile at different seasons, and they were worshipped by the Egyptians. And here, God brings so many of these frogs that their gods become not just a nuisance to them, their gods become a very big hindrance to them. So you see, they can counterfeit the counterfeit power that they ascribe to all of these gods and to all of these created items are being shown to be a fraud. All of the things that they've come to trust in, all the things that they've ascribed power to. There's power in the Nile. No, it's blood. There's power in the frogs. No, you got so many of them, they're getting everywhere. They're getting in your food. They're getting in your beds. Can you imagine going to bed at night and you can't get the frogs out of your bed? There's a frog leg here and a frog tongue there. And I mean, that talk about turning your God into something that you loathe and you despise. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's exposing the fact that you worship this frog. Here, have 10,000 of them and see how you like them. The people can't even kill these frogs because they worship them. So what do you do to get rid of them? Right? And God is just exposing the absolute joke that it is to make an item, to make a thing into a god. And he's exposing that. So look how it continues now in verse 7, chapter 8, verse 7. So God brings these frogs everywhere, right? Now in verse 7, the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs out of the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, "Entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord." And in verse 9, Moses said unto Pharaoh, "Glory over me. When shall I entreat for thee and for thy servants and for thy people to destroy the frogs from you and from your houses, that they may remain in the river only?" Pharaoh, when do you want God to remove the frogs? Is what Moses is saying to Pharaoh. Now, verse 10. And he said, "Tomorrow." And he said, "Be it according to thy word, that you mayest know that there is none like unto the Lord our God." Oh, you want them gone tomorrow, Pharaoh? Okay, I'm going to pray to the Lord, and I want you to know that I'm going to pray to the Lord, and the Lord will take care of this tomorrow. Verse 12, and Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried unto the Lord because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. And the frogs died out of the houses and out of the villages and out of the fields, and they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, or there was a break, no more judgment, frogs are dead and gone, he hardened his heart, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. God even stops the plague on the very day. Getting even more specific. This specificity is designed to say, Pharaoh, look, I have an actual relationship with God here, Pharaoh. And God is doing a work here. God is in control. You want to stop tomorrow? Okay. I want to show you how much God is in control. And God stops it tomorrow. And he's showing Jehovah to be the one in control. So that who gets the glory? God does. God gets the recognition as the one that's doing all of this. I love the fact that God kills the frogs right in the street. He didn't just miraculously make them disappear. No, he just kills them right in the street, right where they're at. So they have to look at their dead gods all over town. He forces them to realize the vanity in the things they've trusted in. God still does that today, guys. He still does that today. He will give people the fill of just the thing that they're seeking and just the thing they're loving until they realize this is empty. This is pointless. Somebody's drunkenness drives them to do stupid things. And then they're like, why do I do this? Do you know how many people, famous comics, famous rich people that just get their belly filled with fame or money, and they're just like, this is empty. And that's the same type of thing that God's doing now. He's saying, frogs are deity to you? Oh, frogs are worth worship to you? Let me give you a gazillion of them. Let me kill them in your street. Are they still that great? Or is it just a created thing? It's just a created thing that comes and goes. Now, chapter 8, verse 16 picks up with the third plague that God brings, because you notice how Pharaoh keeps hardening his heart. And we're going to get to that idea in just a minute, so hold on to that if you've been thinking about that. What does this mean? Pharaoh keeps hardening his heart, or God hardened his heart, or what is all that all about? We'll get to that. Okay, so hang on to that. The third plague now comes in chapter 8, verse 16. The Lord said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out your rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. In verse 18, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. Interesting. So there was lice upon man and upon beast or animal. In verse 19, then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. That the Lord said that he will harden himself, and then eventually Pharaoh will let them go. Now, even there, I want to point that out. It keeps saying at the end of each one of these, and Pharaoh hardened his heart, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. Have you noticed that each time? He's not listening to Moses as the Lord had said, right? What did the Lord say? The Lord said he's going to let your people go. It's not happening yet. Does that mean God was wrong? No. It means we don't always know the timing of God's promises. So many people get discouraged with God when God made a promise. But God, it didn't happen. But God, it didn't happen. Moses could be saying the same thing. And you know what God's answer is? Hold on, Moses. Hold on. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Hold on. Stay faithful. Another step, Moses. Another step. Another step, Chloe. Another step. Okay? Right? That's what God would say. The promises are coming. Hold on to it. That was extra credit. So what I want to really show you in this section here, God brings this lice upon the earth. The word here used in the King James says lice. I don't know if you have something different in your translation. It could be maybe gnats. It could be mosquitoes. The word, it's a very obscure Hebrew word. It's only used here. It's also used in the book of Psalms, which is also referring to this event. So it's not a word that's very well used in very many places at all. So was it lice? Was it gnats? Was it mosquitoes? Something similar to that. But what I find interesting in verse 18, the magicians set out to do the same thing, and for the first time, they can't. They can't do it. It seems that bringing forth life, creating life, is a bridge too far for Satan and his miraculous supernatural ability that he does have. Even the magicians look at this and they say, this was the hand of God that did this, to bring forth life out of dirt, out of the dust of the ground. I mean, at least they're giving credit to somebody besides themselves. I mean, this is a start, right? When somebody says, whoa, I can't do that. This is the hand of God. That's a start. That's a start. That's a start of somebody realizing there's something bigger going on here that's beyond us. So that's good. Now, chapter 8, verse 20 picks up with the fourth plague of Egypt. In verse 20, the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he comes forth to the water, that's the Nile, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else if you will not let my people go, behold, I'm going to send swarms of flies upon you and upon your servants and upon the people and upon the houses. The houses of the Egyptians will be full of swarms of flies. Same thing. And also the ground whereon they are. Verse 22, and I will sever in that day. Now this is different. Verse 22, I'm going to sever in that day the land of Goshen. What was in the land of Goshen, class? You know. Well, who was in the land of Goshen, class? The Israelites. Yes. So this is the place where the Israelites are. And it says there's going to be a divide now, starting with this plague. Again, in verse 22, I will sever in that day the land of Goshen in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end that they may know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. Verse 23, and I will put a division between my people Israel and your people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And the Lord did so. And there came a grievous swarm into the house of Pharaoh and into his servants' houses and into the land of Egypt, and the land was corrupted by reason of the swarms. So the fourth plague that God brings is this plague of flies, more properly translated flies. From this fourth plague on, Israel is now exempt from these plagues that happened. It's not that Israel is deserving to be exempt from these judgments, right? There are none good among us. No, not one. They're not worthy to be exempt from this, but what? But God delights to do good things for his children. And so therefore, God's going to exempt them now from the rest of these plagues, from the rest of these judgments to come. And it also shows God's intentionality again, the specificity that God says, I'm targeting this to the people that need it, and I delight to protect my children. So now God will protect them. And so the intentionality of this, and the Pharaoh has to see that God is doing something special that is blessing the Hebrews that are there. So continue this fourth plague now in verse 25 of chapter 8. And Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land. That means stay here in Egypt. Okay, Moses, flee from my presence, get out of the castle. You can go serve the Lord, but stay here in Egypt and do it. Verse 26, Moses said, It's not good for us to do this, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes? And will they not stone us? Verse 27, we will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he has commanded us to do. God commanded them to go out and sacrifice to him and to serve him out of the land of Egypt. So Pharaoh here offers them, hey, you can sacrifice to Jehovah, but stay here and just go back to your house and do it there. Stay here in Egypt and do it there in your Egyptian house. The enemy is always willing to offer you a compromise when they have to. And that's what he's doing. Don't obey the Lord. Just stay here and do. See, you can be a Christian and you can be in the world. That's what he's saying. As Moses is saying here, the believer's lifestyle should, our lifestyle, what our lifestyle should be as Christians, that should be naturally offensive to the world around us. Did you catch that here in these verses? Pharaoh says, well, go home and just go serve the Lord in the land. And Moses says, whoa. In verse 26, Moses said, it's not good for us to do this. We would be an abomination in the sight of the Egyptians. He's saying, if we start slaughtering animals that they worship, these Egyptians worship, we will become bitter in their eyes. They will think we're an abomination to them because we're doing something abhorrent to them. Did you know that, Christian? That your lifestyle, when you're walking the Christian life, it will naturally be offensive to people. Why would you do it that way, Christian? Why are you limiting yourself in such a way? Why are you wasting your money by giving it to those Christian causes and by giving it to the church? What a waste. Can't believe you. And that's the way they look at this. But the world would say, well, no, just stay here in the world and still be a Christian. You can still do all the things that the world does. You can still have all the habits that we have here and just add on your worship to the Lord. And that's the type of compromise that the world would offer you. We're going to deal more with this idea of the world compromising you in a minute. But let's finish off this fourth plague in chapter 8, verse 28, finishing the chapter. Verse 28, Pharaoh said, I will let you go that you may make sacrifice unto the Lord in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far. Entreat for me. That means tell the Lord to get rid of these plagues. Verse 29, Moses said, behold, I go out from you, and I will entreat the Lord for the swarms of flies, that they may depart from Pharaoh and from his servants and from the people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore in not letting the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. And Moses went out from Pharaoh, and he entreated the Lord. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. And he removed the swarms from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from the people. There remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at that time also, neither would he let the people go. So God begins to get the recognition that he deserves. It's happening on the day God says, it's happening in the way God says. God's power is being shown here in a way that they can't escape it. And it's been 4 plagues. It's been a period of just a few weeks. And God is beginning to get the recognition that he deserves, the power that he deserves to be recognized for. So the world is going to offer all this counterfeit power. And as time goes on, the Christian realizes that is nothing. That's nothing but a limited power. It's a temporary power. It can't hold a candle against God and his power. But now, as chapter 9 opens up, I want to look at a different subject. As these plagues continue, something else that comes clear to us that the world has to offer is just a bunch of calloused people. Counterfeit power and calloused people. People that are just cold. They're calloused. They're beyond natural feelings, beyond natural affections in some ways, and just looking out for themselves. That's what you have in the world. Chapter 9, verse 1, and the Lord said unto Moses, go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and will hold them still, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon your cattle, which is in the field, upon the horses and the donkeys and the camels and the oxen and the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murrain, or disease. Okay? Verse 4, the Lord shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and there shall nothing die of all that is the children of Israel's. So again, the divide where the cattle of the Israelites are not affected. In verse 5, the Lord appointed a set time, saying, tomorrow the Lord shall do this thing in the land. And the Lord did this thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. In verse 7, Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go still.
You've been listening to Believing the Word with Pastor Dan Shunk. Pastor Dan is teaching from the book of Exodus. Did you know that this is the book that first mentions the 10 Commandments? God created these boundaries to set the people up well and not so easily fall into sin. But even as these commandments were being written, the people were distracted and worshiping ungodly things. God does not give us rules and structures to hold us back. No, in fact, He provides these proper limits or boundaries so that we will be blessed and will have a freedom and purity that's missing outside of these structures. So marriage, abstinence, obedience, sanctity of life, These are all things God has given His insights on for your protection and good. As we continue through Exodus, our hope and prayer is that you see God's care for you and how He wants the very best for you. We value our listeners, and we'd love to hear from you. To get in touch with us, visit us online at ccchambersburg.org. There are easy-to-follow tabs at the top, leading you to submit prayer requests or fill out a form to contact us. There's also a giving tab for those who want to contribute to the ministry in a financial way. We're so thankful for you. If what you see on our website doesn't answer a question you have, you can reach us over the phone at 717-500-1102. That number one more time is 717-500-1102. Thanks for listening to Believing the Word with Pastor Dan Shunk.